So here's a little opinion piece I want to do for you all and address something that I've been seeing a lot everywhere and something I myself have wondered. Why do so many recent movies released in 2021 and a lot in 2022 are just no good? Like, it's one thing just to say a movie's no good, but here I kind of want to delve into why. And I'm going to pull out just two really good examples for everybody, well-known examples. I want to bring up the Pixar Studios film Lightyear, and I'd also like to bring up Illumination Studios' Minions 2: The Rise of Gru to kind of make my point. When I sat down to watch these two movies, these were two movies I was actually looking forward to. Lightyear was just a great idea. I love Buzz Lightyear. He's one of my favorite movie characters ever. And it's also played by one of my favorite actors, Tim Allen. I really like watching Tim Allen. And to me, Buzz Lightyear is just one of the best characters in it. So giving him his own movie, yes, great idea. And look, there were some good things about the movie. I do want to point out there really was great animation. There were some funny lines and some nice humor in it. But overall, I felt like it was actually a really sloppy job, which is shocking to me because Pixar Studios to me has always done some of the best movies. Seriously, WALL-E, Ratatouille, Toy Story, Cars. I mean, these were all such great movies, even A Bug's Life. Maybe a little corny and cheesy here and there, but they were great. Everybody loved them. Guys, Lightyear, I don't know how else to put it up to you other than it's just sloppy. Like, really sloppy. And I don't understand why such a high-budget movie would do that. Now, in Minions 2, I want to bring that up. And I'm going to tie all this together in just a second. Just work with me here. Minions 2 is not a bad movie. It's really funny, actually, in a lot of respects. There's a lot of nice things. They animated San Francisco really, really well and accurately. That's pretty neat. We see the return of some funny characters. And it kind of had a nice 1970s soundtrack, although Minions 1 did a much better job at capturing the music of the 60s better. But nevertheless. But I got to tell you, in my opinion, while it has a lot of good things about it, it's the worst of all the Despicable Me movies. Why? I mean, how is this happening? And I believe I have an answer, and it's a little bit controversial, but hey, we're just talking, okay? We're just having a conversation here. We're just giving out our opinions. I blame it on PC culture. I do. That's exactly what I blame it on. And let me go back to Lightyear. If you guys remember in Toy Story, you know it's one of the great things that make Pixar movies so good? There was tons of adult jokes in it. And I don't mean like in the gutter jokes. No. They were way better than that. Just a lot of jokes that only adults would get. And it was funny. And when you do that, that's what makes watching an animated kids film so great. When you can walk that line. It's a difficult line to walk. But if you can do that, appeal to kids and adults like that, you've got something. Lightyear failed to do that. In a lot of ways. Some of the dialogue in there wasn't just bad, it was unnecessary. Like, why is this here? And I felt like there were so many elements they did purely for political reasons, and I'll leave it at that. And for no other reason, not because it was a good idea. Like, whenever you're writing a movie or a book or anything, I don't care what it is, even if you're just making a short, you know? There should always be a reason for something to be there. There should always be motivations. I mean, there should always be something. Everything should have a purpose, and in Lightyear it didn't. It just felt like they strung a bunch of stuff together, most of the time unnecessary. And that's why it did so bad. In the case of Minions 2, again, I'm not dogging Minions 2. It's actually a pretty funny movie, and I think a lot of people will enjoy it. But it committed the exact same sin, if you will. It didn't put a lot of humor that I think adults would watch. I felt like they dumbed it down and watered it down far, far too much. And when you watch it, especially in light of the other movies, it makes a difference. And I know what you're thinking. Despicable Me, that's not exactly an adult film. I mean, you don't have to be a person of tremendous intelligence to enjoy it. No, you don't. And that's what made it so good. But in the case of Minions 2, it just did not do as good of a job. Seriously. So, and by the way, there's a lot of other films I could go over that are just not well put together. And that's precisely why. I think what is happening, and this is just my opinion, I'm not speaking for anybody other than myself, okay? Just my own opinion. It's done out of a fear of offending. Offending who? Well, that's the problem. I believe it's done out of fear of offending certain political parties, maybe certain organizations out there. I think that's what's going on. And out of a fear of doing that, or a fear as being maybe seen as negative or something, to try to avoid that, rather than come up with more great content, they simply watered down everything to the point where not only is it not offending anybody, and if that's what these movies were going after, they nailed it. Nothing's going to offend anybody. But you know what else they did? They took out content. There's no content. So it's kind of like saying, okay, imagine that you had a restaurant and imagine that you sold, I don't know, flavored H2O. I'm just pulling out a random example, okay? And you sell the best flavored H2O around, right? Well, somebody complains and says, I don't like the flavor of your lime. Okay, your lime H2O is no good. Seriously, it bothers me, makes me feel bad. I don't like it. You should quit selling it. And maybe there's a few other people who don't like your lime H2O. So what you do is you simply pour out all of this, your H2O, right? You just show up to your shop one day, you pour it all out of the bottles, and then you just sell the empty bottles. Because that way nobody can complain about your lime H2O. I know it's kind of a goofy example, but that is exactly what's happening in all these things. I think it's out of a fear of offending political parties or maybe just other organizations out there. And the problem is, I don't think they even know who they're trying not to offend. That's the worst part. They're just trying to not offend anybody at all. You're trying to cover all the bases, and in doing that, you've created essentially Jell-O, right? Nobody's going to be offended by Jell-O. It's nice, it's squishy. Try nailing that to the wall. Can't be done. I think that's what's happening. Also, here's something else I really, really don't like. Do you know, I talk about these movies a lot. Do you know what I love about films like The Matrix, for example, or Lord of the Rings? They're movies that don't treat me like I'm stupid. And what I mean by that is, I'm serious. I've actually seen a few scriptwriter things out there before, like basic scriptwriter things. And one of the major things that has happened with a lot of big movies and studios is they basically say, look, people don't want to think. They just want to watch a bunch of explosions or something, or just and leave the theater from there. Don't put anything deep. Certainly don't put any serious messages there, and don't really try to make any statements, okay? Just don't do it. Well, movies like The Matrix and Lord of the Rings bucked that, and they did phenomenally, right? But I feel like a lot of movies here are doing exactly that. There's nothing really to think about. There's no deep and complex plot, which really does make me sad because I love good writing. There's no theme. There's no message. It's just, and what do you have? To go back to my previous illustration, it's just Jell-O. So for these two reasons, I believe this is why so many movies, and I'm kind of nervous to say, I think we'll see more of this maybe in the next year or so. It's bad content because it's Jell-O, because there is no content. And the reasons for this is, I believe, unnecessary. But that's just my opinion. You guys tell me. I mean, if you've seen these movies or other movies like it, I mean, do you agree with me? Do you disagree? I mean, you could drop a comment. Seriously, engage. That's what this is all about. But that's my opinion. That's why so much new content is just not good. Certainly not as good as other stuff we've seen in the past. That's something I want to say. But thanks for watching this video. This is just me pontificating a little bit. Me just sending out my opinion out there. Make of it what you will. But thank you for watching.